Hey guys, Ismael Aziz here, and today we're going to be discussing your why. Your why is very important when it comes to business, as it allows you to fully comprehend what your purpose of doing business is, and to give you motivation, to give you drive. And the easiest way to do that is to ask yourself why. Now, many people's initial answers are to be free, or help their family, to help themselves, or to be seen. Now, with each level of that, you need to go one step deeper. Right? I want to help my family. Why? Because of this. Because my father divorced my mother. Father's no longer in the picture. Okay. Why do you want to help your mother? Because she's struggling. Okay. Why is she struggling? Oh, she's working 2 jobs to put food on the table for me and my siblings. And why is that your responsibility? And you go further and further until you get the moment where you saw her once struggling, maybe passing out, crying, whatever it may be, and that's your why. And whenever you're struggling, you have to sit down and remember that moment, or think of the moments that created your why, because that's more motivation. So comparing, oh, why I want to help my family too, why I never want to see my mother cry again the way that she cried that night when the bills or the landlord or whoever it may be came knocking on the door. And another good way to get your why is to sit down and write down what happens if nothing changes. Spend 15, 20 minutes, maybe more, up to an hour. Write in as much detail what happens if nothing changes. What happens if you let life handle you? There's a saying by, I believe it was Nietzsche, which is if you allow if you do not make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you shall call it fate. So, what happens if you remain unconscious? What happens if you just live through dopamine? What happens if you don't change anything in your life? Write it down. Write down what it looks like in 10, 15, 20 years. And then to the complete opposite, write down what happens when you make everything conscious, when you make all your decisions conscious. Then you have an idea of why you do what you do. And whenever you're down in motivation, just remember the worst case and the best case. Now, me, I prefer thinking about the worst case. What happens if nothing changes? What happens if I allow myself to be the worst version of myself? What happens if I allow drugs, alcohol, degeneration to enter into my life and just live freely, ignore all of my problems, right? And that's a very good way to do it. But now, when we look at what the purpose of this is, it's to have a better life. And when it comes to that, you have to be conscious of what you do and what you don't do. You have to go towards pain. 99% of the time in entrepreneurship, the thing that you don't want to do is the thing that you need to do. The thing that is most uncomfortable for you, that's what you need to start with. That's what you need to tackle. More often than not, I've seen people get sick, but they're not actually sick. It's psychosomatic, where they believe they're sick, but they're not actually sick. It's because they've allowed anxiety and stress to build up in their system by not doing what they need to do, right? So make a list of everything that you need to do. Look at that which is most painful and do that. And then I'm going to add another rule onto this, which is a Pareto law, I believe. It's an 80-20 rule, where 80% of what you do will affect 20% of your business. And 20% of what you do will affect 80% of your business. I started making a lot more money when I came to recognize that I need to stop doing 80%. And from that, I was able to develop an understanding that I would only do something when cash is involved, when there is direct correlation to money. And my team's seen this. My team will see me do absolutely nothing on a project, right? If there is no money connected to it. And when there is money connected to it, they won't be able to touch, compete, do anything against me. I will dominate. I will wake up before everyone, be in the office before everyone, and leave after everyone. It's as though I live in the office. Why? Because I understand that I need to be there at that time. But when there's 80% of shit to do that doesn't affect the business, I don't care, because I understand that it doesn't move the needle forward. You have to have all these different types of understandings, and most of them are to yourself and your relationship with the work, with the business, with your trauma, with money. You need to understand your why, and you need to go as deep as you possibly can. And I would honestly just kick it off, get a piece of paper, and keep going why until you reach the bottom of Alice's Wonderland, or whatever that saying is, right? The bottom of the rabbit hole. Because it's at the bottom of the rabbit hole that you find the most fuel for your fire.